Welcome to the Weather Guru Podcast for August the 5th, 2024. Thank you for joining me. Please be sure to subscribe to this channel for the latest interpretation of weather news as it becomes available. Right now we're going to be talking about Tropical Storm Debby as well as the National Weather Service hazards. As you can see, Debby made landfall this morning around 7 a.m. around Steinhatchee and Horseshoe Bay Beach, Florida. As a Category 1 hurricane. Now it's well inland. It's just crossed over I-10 and it's near the center of it's in the Okefenokee Swamp, basically, in southern Georgia, Fargo, Georgia, Okefenokee Swamp area, and Jacksonville is getting the brunt of the rain. In northern suburbs of Jacksonville is getting a lot of rain up there towards the airport. And up into Georgia, Brunswick, Jekyll Island, the Golden Isles, Savannah, starting to get that rain impact there with some of these outer bands feeding into the system. Winds are currently at 50 miles an hour with Debby, and that's the latest advisory as of 5 p.m. Movement is northeast at 6 miles an hour, so it's moving slowly as we thought. And tropical storm force winds still extending out about 120 to 130 miles out from the center. So that means Jacksonville, Lake City, Gainesville, I-75 corridor up to Valdosta, and over towards Live Oak off of I-10 there, westbound, and still getting tropical storm force winds or gusts of tropical storm force winds. The system will begin this loop-de-loop path later on in the week, Wednesday, Thursday, according to a lot of the models, consensus models, and it's just going to be a bit of a rainmaker now. It's just basically a rainmaker, and maybe some slight storm surge as it reemerges out back into the Atlantic, and then makes this kind of a loop-de-loop back into the North Carolina coastline. So it could be a brief storm surge, but nothing too crazy, maybe 1 to 3 feet water rise, because the system will be weaker, obviously. It's not going to be a hurricane or anything. So we'll come back to Debby, but looking at the National Weather Service hazards for today, you can see it's just heat. Heat has been the name of the game here out west, and it's pink and purple, and also out east here. Excessive heat warnings are in effect for the upstate New York, northern Pennsylvania, all the way into the Green and White Mountains of New Hampshire and Vermont. So places like Manchester, Burlington, Albany, the Capital District, and the Adirondacks, just south of the Adirondacks. The New York State Thruway could be hot coming from Buffalo, to Syracuse, to Utica, to Rome, down towards Binghamton and the Finger Lakes, hot today. And then we have flood warnings, or flood watches, I should say, along the I-95 corridor. So if you're coming down Trenton, the Garden State Parkway, or if you're coming down up the New Jersey Turnpike, be very careful. There's flood watches in effect. Philadelphia, you're included, the Lehigh Valley, and down into Delaware Valley. And then down, of course, in the southeast, we have all these warnings in association with what's left of Debby, Tropical Storm Debby. And that's what the flash flood warnings in effect for most of Georgia, and the low country of South Carolina, and even in the eastern Florida Panhandle, of course, still with those warnings and watches there. A lot of rainfall totals down south and towards Tampa, in the inland areas of Tampa between I-4 and Lakeland and south part there. They got a lot of rain there, up to 10 inches, 8 to 10 inches of rain. So, and the tail end of Debby. So that was a very a needed rain there. And so we had those warnings there and heat advisories. That's what we have. But back to Debby here. I want to show you this here is the projected rainfall total. It has come down a bit from the previous estimates of 30 inches. So we're now looking at between a foot, maybe 12 to 16 inches, somewhere in that bullseye. That could be anywhere from Savannah to Charleston, or anywhere in between here, or Georgetown, South Carolina. So we'll see how it plays out once it gets back, reemerges back into the Atlantic, or if it gets off the coast, or if it does reemerge, the center reemerges back off. But the bottom line is it's going to be a multi-day rain event here, lasting to at least Thursday or Friday here for most of the East Coast here. Even up in the Washington, D.C. and Baltimore areas, you're still getting about 4 inches out of this thing in the yellow here, which is pretty good rainfall, and that will help bust the drought conditions that we've experienced in the Shenandoah Valley up here and all these areas up here too as well. So that's good news with Debby coming out of here. And you can see the forecast cone for Debby. It does show that it's going to be making that way here up the eastern seaboard as well. So that's the latest on Debby. Now we have other storms out here too. In the Pacific here, we have 4 storms in the Pacific. I don't want to lose track of that. But with the Pacific storms, none of these storms here are going to be making any type of landfall. They're just fish storms. So we have Daniel, Amelia, and Fabio. We did have 4 storms. There's one dissipated. So we have Daniel, Amelia, and Fabio. Daniel was just a remnant tropical depression now, but Amelia and Fabio is 40 and a 50 mile an hour subtropical storm respectively. It's not even going to affect Baja California, Vinny, Mexico, any of those areas, just for fifth storms. But the Central Pacific is definitely heating up, and it's going to be moving. It's going to be a very active time for the Central Pacific as well. So we're going to keep a close eye on that as well. So other than that, that's pretty much your update for today. Please be sure to subscribe to this channel, and we'll be back more on Debby once it moves up the coastline in terms of rainfall totals and any damage or power outages that may be as a result. Thank you for listening. This is the Weather Guru signing off.